I knew I had Victor's brother's name wrong. William is the little brother, but it's Ernest, not Jack. Ernest, Jack, they're all the same. And I also blurbled, I said we were going into chapter 5, but we're going into chapter 6. So Victor's feeling better. He gets a letter from Elizabeth, and he hears that Ernest wants to go into the army, and he loves the outdoors. Ernest is the only one in this family who makes it out alive. And there may be a reason for that. Victor seeks knowledge. His father was a learned man. Elizabeth dies because she's intertwined with Victor, and William dies just because he's young and innocent kind of tend to die in Mary Shelley's life. But at any rate, she also hears that they have taken in another orphan, and that is Justine Moritz, who again has no place to go, and so they take her in. And so he gets the letter and talking about just how things are at home, and he gets kind of homesick. And he says that in this chapter 6 that ever since the beginning of that fatal night, the end of my labors and the beginning of my misfortune, I had conceived a violent antipathy against even to the name of natural philosophy. Well, he has this because he's violated nature. So you don't want to, mess around with natural things when you violated them. And Clerval has come to Ingolstadt because his father has finally said you can go to school. Because before this, Clerval's father, who is a merchant, has said, nah, you can't go to school. You don't need to have any book learning. He's changed his mind. And he has sealed Clerval's fate. Because Clerval, too, begins to lust after knowledge. And when that happens, he's doomed just like Victor. And we'll find out again what Victor says about knowledge later in the book. But then in chapter 7, we're almost at chapter 8 in the end, he gets a letter that says William, his youngest brother, is dead, and Justine Moritz is accused of his murder. And the thing is, Elizabeth, early in the chapter, it's his father writing to him, says, "Oh God, I have murdered my darling child." Now, Elizabeth has nothing to do this. Why would she say this? Because women are guilty. Women have been guilty since Eve ate the apple, and it wasn't really an apple, and Pandora opened the chest that had all of the ills of humankind. Women are by their nature guilty. And maybe even women still do it today. I try not to feel guilty. Anything goes wrong, hey, it's got to be the woman's fault. And I know you guys are saying, nah, it's the man's fault. But at any rate, William is dead. Everyone is distraught. And Justine Moritz is accused of the murder. And so Victor has to go home. And so he had not been home for 6 years. And so he starts out on his travel. And while he is traveling home, he talks about nature. And he says, "The palaces of nature were not changed. By degrees the calm and heavenly scene restored me." Victor consistently finds peace in nature, in the mountains, being outside. He finds solace in that which he violated and basically whose tenets he rejected. Now, it also says, though, that as he comes closer to home, that night began to fall, and he could hardly see the mountains. I felt still more gloomily. The picture appeared a vast and dim scene of evil. This is also foreshadowing, because guess who he's going to catch a glimpse of? You're right. But at any rate, he finds peace in nature. Also, when he was gestating in his room of filthy labor, he is cut off from nature. For 2 years, he has nothing to do with the outside. It was almost like he knew, I'm not welcome out there. Then after the whole thing was over, then he begins to seek out nature, and he feels at peace there once again. So he gets home. he finds out, and again, it had been 2 years had passed since he had created the creature. And he says, 2 years had nearly elapsed since the night when he first received life. And he's saying this on catching a glimpse of the monster, or thinking that he saw it. And he gets home. Justine is accused of the murder. And at this point, Victor is pretty sure, well, he knows that Justine didn't do it, but he's pretty sure he knows who did do it. And then Justine confesses. Why does she confess? Because the priest told her, you're going to go to hell if we kill you, if we execute you, and you don't confess. So again, like Elizabeth, she assumes the guilt and seals her fate. Now, I guess Victor could say, it was her fate, just like he is claiming fate for himself. But he knows better. But Justine said, I did confess, but I confessed a lie. I confessed that I might obtain absolution. And now that falsehood lies heavier at my heart than all my other sins. Alas, the women in this, and the men too, really do get some really sad things going on. Now, toward the end of that chapter, Victor says, the poor sufferer, Justine, tried to comfort the other people around her. She indeed gained the resignation she desired, but I, the true murderer. Now, it would appear that Victor is taking guilt upon himself like Elizabeth and Justine did, but Victor really is quite responsible because he abdicated his responsibility as a parent. So is he responsible? Think about that. He also says, I bore a hell within me which nothing could extinguish. And this is also a line that Satan says in Paradise Lost, which I'm going to talk about next time. Not nighttime, next time. I've bent your ear enough for now. But next week, we're going to talk about the next few chapters, and I'm going to have a lot more to say.